Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order our City Council meeting for June the 26th, 2023. It is 4:44. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Carter?
Present.
Councilmember Oliva?
Present.
Councilmember Garcia?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Marroquin?
Present.
Mayor Cardenas Singh?
Present. At this time, we will be led with the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Edgar Garcia, and invocation by by our Council Member Sonia Carter. If you could please stand.
Ready? Begin. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you just simply saying thank you. We want to thank you for the decision-making that has already taken place, and we want to thank you for the decision-making that is to come, Lord. We want to thank you for the decision-making that has to take place for the hospital as well tomorrow, Lord. So we're just asking for you just to bless all the minds, bless everybody who's involved, and bless us to have the great outcome. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much, colleagues, for assisting us with that. And at this time, Madam City Attorney, if you could please report out on closed session.
Madam Mayor, in this case, I believe you have the report out from closed session.
Wonderful. Well, I will tell you this is a great day for the city of El Centro. On behalf of our city council members, I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you that we will be appointing Cedric Cesena to be our City of El Centro city manager. This will take place This item will be on our agenda for resolution on July the 18th, but we wanted to make sure that we announce this to the public, and we look forward to your great leadership. I'll hand it over to you if you just would like to say something real quick at this time.
You know, if you would have shared with me that it's going to be 37 years ago when I was delivering newspapers through the streets of Calexico, that I would have ever be sitting before you as a potential city manager, I would have said you guys were lying. It definitely is an interesting path that my career is taking. I have the utmost respect for everybody who works for the city of El Centro and the hard work that you guys put in every day. Similarly to our council, I've gotten to see behind the curtains, and I get to see the hard work that happens. All I wanted to be was a battalion chief. That's really what I wanted to be. Yet I sit before you as a potential city manager. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you for that. And like I said, we will have a resolution before us on our July the 18th City Council meeting. So with that, I'll go ahead and move us on our agenda. And this is the public comment portion. This is a public meeting. If there's an item on the agenda on which you wish to be heard, you are asked to complete a blue speaker slip and submit it to the city clerk prior to the start of the meeting. Persons wishing to address the council are not required to identify themselves. However, this information assists the mayor by ensuring that all persons wishing to address the council are prepared in our city minutes. When this item is announced and your name is called by the mayor, please step to the podium and state your name for the record. Unless the mayor extends the time, there is a 3-minute time limit for each public presentation. If you wish to address the council concerning any other matter not appearing on the agenda, you may do so during the public comment portion of the agenda. However, you may not show a visual presentation without review of the material. If you do so, you will be considered out of order. Madam City Clerk, is there any blue speaker slips or anyone online?
There's none, Mayor.
All right, with that, I'll go ahead and move us along. At this time, we'll go ahead and move on to our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may pull a consent item to be considered separately at any time by the mayor. In reviewing our consent agenda, is there a motion to approve item 1, 2, and 3? If we could please have
It's not working. Can you please do a voice roll call, please?
voice roll call?
Yes.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda item? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Marroquin. Is there a second?
I second.
Wonderful. Madam City Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Councilmember Carter?
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia?
Yes.
Councilmember Oliva?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Marroquin?
Yes.
Mayor Cardenas Singh.
Yes. Thank you. Item passes 5-0. We'll move on to item number 4 and 5. Those will be together. This is the time and place for the continued public hearing for the purpose of setting findings for the required amendments to the 2022 California Building Code to local climatic, geographic, and topographic conditions. Mr. Frank Soto, Assistant Director of Community Development, will present for items 4 and 5.
Well, good afternoon, Madam Mayor, dear council members, and city manager. Congratulations, sir. Okay, so the project before you is the adoption of the 2022 California Building Code that amends Chapter 7. Okay, this is a standard procedure that happens every 3 years as the codes change. Okay, this year, to assure that our adoption of the code met all the requirements and filing requirements with state law, we hired Bureau of Veritas to assist with the adoption process. Okay, I would like to introduce Trang Nguyen with Bureau of Veritas, who will present the process and the changes with a quick presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frank Soto, and good afternoon, Mayor, City Council Member, and also Mr. City Manager. My name is Trang Nguyen. I'm with Bureau Veritas North America. We are located in the city of Irvine, California, and I have an honor to work with your building official and the community development director for the code adoptions of the building code and the fire code. So the item number 4 and number 5 before you this afternoon will be the introduction of the ordinance for the building code and also the resolution of finding for the code amendment. According to the Health and Safety Code 17922, the state of California had to adopt the new construction code that included building, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, energies, a green building code, for the construction of the project in California. And the local jurisdiction of city and county, we have to adopt those state adopt the code at your local level. And that's where we are here today. The part of the code adoptions for the construction code, as I mentioned earlier, also, if the city or county make any amendment to the code for the local condition that to reflect the special climatic, geographic, or topographical condition, then you can do so. And in this time, we carry over all of the code amendment of the previous code adoption of 3 years ago. However, in this case, we also introduced 2 new code amendments to reflect with the changing in your city and to also to reflect the need and also the change of the economy and so. I would like to introduce to you the code amendment number 1 that's new. It has something to do with the cooling system that according to the building official and the community development director here in this particular region, that we have a code amendment that to require in the summertime that all of the new constructions, particularly with the multi-residential housing or residential home, should have a kind of cooling system, like air conditioning system for the occupant of these occupancy of this building, no higher than to maintain no higher than 78 degrees Fahrenheit. And that again, that to provide the comfort level for the occupant of these types of building. And code amendment number 2 that we also introduced to you this afternoon due to the popularity of the electric vehicle, so there's a code amendment to require EV charging station for the new construction of the hotel project. And again, it's just limited to the new construction of the hotel project. Why? Because the customer or the client of the hotel project nowadays will have a lot of electric vehicle to be used, and with the EV charging station, at least one per site, that will reflect, the green technology and also reflect the greatest customer services, that provide for these type of hotel project. So these are new, and I believe that your city can be the leading agency in this area, and I'm very proud to say that. So again, the justification for the code amendment would be reflect on the climatic, geographic, and topographic condition. Part of the adoption of the building code ordinance and resolution of finding at the end, after all the signature obtained, and the city clerk, we send a copy of the ordinance and the resolution to the State Building Standard Commission for their reference or for their acceptance. So at this time, I would like you to introduce or open the public hearing for the building code adoption, and then subsequently during the next city council meeting, you will officially adopt the ordinance, and will be the filing of the resolution on into the state building code. I mean the state building standard commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments? The public hearing is open, and if there's anyone wishing to speak on this item, this
We
would
have
be the
none,
time.
Mayor.
All right. At this time, this public hearing is hereby closed, and I will bring it back to council. If there's any questions or discussions by our council members on this item. All right. Madam City Clerk, will we be doing roll call vote for the entire meeting, or?
No, ma'am, I'm gonna go ahead and set it up right now.
All right, wonderful. All right, colleagues, at this time then, if there is no questions or discussions, do I have a motion to adopt resolution number 23-69 and approval for the ordinance for number 23-2? Is there a motion? Motion was made by Councilmember Sonia Carter, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Marroquin. Please vote. Thank you. Both items pass.
Madam Mayor, it's
Do you need them
individual.
separately?
Separately, please.
Yes, all right. So that was the adoption for resolution number 23-69. Now I will move for a motion to approve ordinance number 23-02.
Madam Mayor,
Yes?
if you would ask for an waive reading of the ordinance in full and adopt by title only, as well as introduce the ordinance, then at the next meeting, you'll pass the ordinance.
This is for item 5, right?
The ordinance that accompanies item 5.
Item 5.
Madam City Attorney, you are asking me to read the entire ordinance?
So I'm asking that, I am suggesting that the motion to introduce the ordinance include a waiver of the reading of the entire ordinance, read by title only, and then introduce the ordinance.
All right. Can you walk us through that, please, Madam City Attorney?
I believe that the maker of the motion can use those words.
Edgar?
And you know what, if I may, I just have a question before we get into the
Yes.
voting part of it. I did have a question for this item, not for the
All
previous
right.
one.
Sounds good.
If that was okay. So, Mr. Soto, I know that we're now adopting, or we're going to be considering adopting these new building codes for future construction within the city. The ordinance and all of the different codes were very dense, and some of the questions that I received that was honestly going to take me a longer period of time to just kind of put together. So I was wondering if you could summarize. And that is to the extent of, I think we mentioned solar, but battery storage, and whether or not we are moving away from natural gas appliances to all electric appliances in any future residential development. Is that in any way integrated in these new building codes as per the Commission for the State of California?
Yes, sir, they are, but however, the elimination of the gas appliances will most likely be at the next code cycle, not this code cycle.
Okay.
But yes, California is moving in that direction to where they're going to prefer you to use all electric appliances versus gas appliances. The same thing for battery storage. It's not required yet during this code cycle, but it will most likely be required in the following code cycle, which will be, I believe, a year and a half from now when they'll start the process. But this current adoption of these codes does not require you to put in electric appliances. It does, however, require you to put in, for instance, if you have a gas stove, that you put in a receptacle that can facilitate 240 volts for the installation of a future electric stove. And the same thing for the water heater. If you put in a water heater, the code requires that you provide a 10-volt receptacle so that in the future, it can accommodate an electric water heater.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions on agenda item number 5? If not, at this point, I'm going to do an introduction to the ordinance, and I must go ahead and read this. So,
Just the title.
Introduce ordinance number 23-2, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Centro repealing Chapter 7, Article 1, correct? Madam City Attorney, that's all I need to read?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So is there a motion? All right. Motion was made by Councilmember Edgar Garcia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Silva Marquin. Please vote. Thank you. Item passes 5-0. All right. Items number 6 and 7. This is the time and place for the continued public hearing for the purpose of setting findings for required amendments to the 2022 California Fire Code to local climatic, geographic, and typographic conditions. Mr. Frank Soto.
Thank you, Councilmember. Okay, so good afternoon, Madam Mayor, dear council members, and city manager. The project before you is the adoption of the 2022 California Fire Code that amends Chapter 10 of the El Centro Municipal Code. This standard procedure occurs every 3 years. This year, to assure that our adoption of the codes meet all the requirements and filing requirements with the state law, we again hire Bureau Veritas to assist with the adoption of the process. Once again, I'd like to introduce Frank Nguyen with Bureau Veritas, who will present the process and the changes with a quick presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. And again, good afternoon, Mayor and City Council member and City Manager. Before you again, it's the adoptions or the introduction for the public hearing of the fire code adoption and the resolution of finding, as I explained to you a few minutes ago, for the building code. One thing for the fire code, the ordinance, we carry over the same code amendment that have been in the municipal code for many of years. Nothing new has been added to the code amendment. So at this time, and also I'd like to mention that for both the building and the fire code, there are not any new construction fee increase. The fee stay the same for many years under the city or the jurisdictions that are established. The fee changes will be on a different procedure, and that is a citywide fee. So again, I'd like to mention to you that there are no fee proposal or any change to both the building permit and the fire permit fee. So again, at this time, you can open the public hearing for the fire code adoption. and adopt the resolutions for it. And if you want to do the same way that you did with the building code, that's fine. Or you can wait till the next city council meeting at the next time to do a final official adoption of the fire code. That's also okay too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The public hearing is now opened. If there is anyone wishing to speak on the item, this would be the time to receive public comment. Madam City Clerk, do we have anyone remote or blue speaker slip? None. This public hearing is hereby closed. I will bring it back to our City Council for any questions or discussions by any of the members. Any comments? No? All right. So at this time, this would be for the adoption resolution 23-70, a resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro, California, setting forth findings for required amendments to the 2022 California Fire Code relative to local, climatic, geographic, and typographic conditions. Do I have a motion? Motion made by Councilmember Tomas Oliva, seconded by Councilmember Sonia Carter. Please vote. Wonderful. Item passes 5-0. We're now on item number 7, which is the introduction to ordinance number 23-03, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of El Centro repealing its entirety and readopting Chapter 10, Article 3, Section 10-41, and repealing Section 10-48 to adopt the 2022 California Fire Code with amendments and amendment Article number 4. Do I have a motion? Thank you. Motion was made by Councilmember Tomas Oliva, seconded by myself. Item passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving us on to new business. Ms. Carla Chaparro, Director of Finance.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam Mayor and council members. The item that you have before you is the fiscal year 2024 final budget. And the budget, including all funds, is projected to be 168.8 million. Out of that, it's categorized in all these different sections. Operations includes supplies, services, salaries, and benefits, and that's 69.1 million. Last budget, it was 59 million, so we are seeing a significant increase, and that is due to increases in salaries and supplies and services. And then moving on to capital. Capital is 76.7 million, which is 45% of the total budget. And that also has a significant increase of 27.4. And the reason why is because there is a lot of major construction projects budgeted in fiscal year 2024, like very high ticket items. And then our debt service, it's 11.1, which is 7% of the total budget. And there's some minor increase to that due to the debt service for the police station bonds. We will be making our first debt service payment next fiscal year. And then moving on to solid waste, which is 2.5 million or 1% of the total budget. That one's, it's remained the same. And then moving on to transfer out, 9.4 million is 6%. And that also increased a little bit, and it's also due to the police station bond debt service, since we transfer it out of Measure P and into our debt service fund. And moving on to general fund. Our total budget for the general fund is 38.1 million. of which 30.4 million is salary and benefits, and that is 80%. If you recall, the last time it was 78%. The reason why it went up was because we had capital last time, and this time we don't have capital since they got moved to another fund. So that's why that went up to an 80%. And then supplies and services, which is 7.7 million, and that's 20% of the total budget. And then I just wanted to give you, I know that you requested that the city manager and myself meet with the various department heads to review their capital and their personnel requests. So then this is just a summary of what transpired after those meetings. With the police department, in regards to personnel, we decided to unfreeze 3 police officer positions, and the amount for that was $288,788. And then also in regards to personnel, we reclassified 1 records clerk 1 to a 2. That was an increase of $8,431 for a total of $297,219. And then the fire department, they decided to remove 2 recommended capital items and instead add the firefighting turnout ensembles. And the difference in cost was $22,750. And then in community services and supplies and services, they requested a transfer out from general fund into special events for $70,000. And then in personnel, change of reclassification for, they had requested a G10 prior, and then a G6 to a G10, and then it was a change from a G6 to a G9. And so that was a decrease of $4,813 for a total of $65,187. And then all departments, all the capital that all the departments had requested from the general fund got moved to Measure P, and the amount for that was $758,999. So that was a cost savings to the general fund combined of $373,843. This is just a graph that shows the different department allocations. Public safety would be the biggest allocation with 57.6, and then it's parks and recreation with 16.1, and then general government with 13.1. And then looking at our fund balance as of July 1, 2023 is projected to be $22,640,863. We're going to have revenues of $34,514,218 and expenditures of $38,132,883. We're going to have a deficit of $3.6 million and an ending fund balance of $19 million. And then out of that $19 million, $3.8 million is reserved for economic unknowns, $2.2 for accrued leave liability, and then $3 million for vehicle major equipment replacement, leaving our undesignated balance at $10,819,910. So then just moving on to the challenges, same as, I guess, the challenges that for the general fund's always been personnel costs, salary increases, based on the MOU that were approved last year. Employees are getting about a 7.75% increase. It's a 2% COLA, the first payroll in July, and then they get a step increase, which is equivalent to about 5.75% at their anniversary date. So it's about, combined, it's like a 7.75% increase. So that's increasing our expenditures by a lot. And then capital replacement, there's a lot of needs throughout the city. A lot of departments have a lot of capital needs, and we're having to focus, due to limited funds, we're having to focus on what's most urgent, and we're not able to fulfill all the requirements and all the needs. And then projected decline in fund balance due to the increase in salaries and benefits and supplies and services. We're projecting a decline in fund balance if everything continues to be the same. And then, well, capital projects, that's just when we add new facilities, it increases our operational costs. We have, more staff, just more operational expenditures that we need to fund, and then the demand for services and programs from citizens, and they want more, but yet we're limited. We cannot give everything that they need or that they want. And
Mrs.
then-
Chapa, can I ask a question?
Yes.
You know, going back to the previous slide, so under personnel costs and the other one, I guess, capital projects, where you were talking about, no, the one.
Oh, that
with the
one right
little
there?
circle- Yeah, that one. Doesn't personnel costs also include the contributions to retirement plans? Is that?
The
is that-
retirement plan?
Is that considered in there as well?
Yes,
Okay, so that-
it is. It's our CalPERS. It is included in benefits,
Okay.
so it is part of salaries and
Okay.
benefits. Mhm.
Yeah, because I know that's a huge.
It has been an ongoing problem in the past, but based on our last evaluation report, because what makes it expensive is that we have our deductions, our biweekly deductions
Yes,
that we
we
have
pay,
to, that the city has to pay for the employee, and then we also have an annual payment that we have to give every July for every plan, and that it's called UAL payment. So that payment makes it very expensive, but our UAL payment went down this fiscal year. So we're actually seeing a slight decrease in CalPERS costs
Wow.
based on our last evaluation. Oh, sorry. So then, focusing on fund balance, like I said, a projected decline in fund balance. The factors that went into this projection was, like I said, the salary increases, and then also an inflationary rate of 6% due to everything's going up in costs. And I saw it this fiscal year. All the departments are very, very over budgeted in their budgets. I'm having to do budget amendments. It's just everything's very expensive. So if we take that into consideration, the salaries plus the supplies and services and the inflation and all that, and if things continue, the economy continues like that, then this is what we're anticipating. Moving on to the enterprise funds. The water working capital as of June 30, 2024 is $12,316,79, minus the reserves for economic unknowns of $674,750, and the accrued leave liability of $310,000, and vehicle and major equipment replacement of 4.5. We're looking at a designated of 5.484750 and undesignated of 6.8. In wastewater working capital, as of 6/30/2024, we're looking at 11.58327, and then the 10% reserve, 639,756, accrued leave liability of 325,000, and vehicle and major equipment replacement of 2.8 million. We're looking at a designated working capital of 3.8, and then undesignated of 7.8. And then moving on to our special revenue funds. Same thing, as the beginning balance as of July 1, 2023 is 61.5 million. We're projecting revenue of 22,287,888, and then minus operating expenditures of 6.6 million. And our net revenue is 15,682,49, and our fund balance before non-operating revenues and expenditures is 77,138,862. And then less our capital expenditures, our transfer outs, our loans, and our transfer ins, we're looking at a total non-operating revenue expense of 42,345,23, giving us an ending fund balance of 34,008,000. And then capital projects, our beginning fund balance as of July 1, 2023 is 46,889,981, plus projected operating revenue of 49 million, minus less capital expenditures of 27.3 and loans of 1.5 million, gives us a total net operating revenue expense of 28.8 and an ending fund balance of 67 million. And then looking at our capital, in total, our capital is 76.7 million. Out of that 76.7 million, 24.5 million is Measure P. I did want to mention our capital did go up by a lot, and it is because of the police station construction, right? And that's our biggest capital item being budgeted in fiscal year 2024, and that's 19 million. So part of that increase is the police station, as well as there's other projects going on. And then this is just a listing of the most significant public works projects that are being budgeted for next fiscal year. Just to kind of mention a few of them, we have, like I said, police construction, Southern Pump Station construction, Imperial Avenue extension, Valley Center Point demolition, miscellaneous street improvements, COVID STIP, East Main Street, ATPL, 5 Imperial Avenue, City Hall HVAC system, and then other major projects. And then in Parks and Recreation, we have Gomez Park, Sorda Park, Debbie Pittman Park, Buena Vista Park, Buckland Park, McGee Park, ADA upgrades in both community center and adult center, park art renovation, diesel lift and park improvements, security cameras, furniture. And then we have other that don't fall in the other category of safety and non-safety vehicles, city hall improvements, library, servers, police station design and construction, gas chlorine conversion, and computer-aided dispatch interface connections. I do want to mention that a lot of these items they're being rebudgeted because, and that's why it seems like it's a lot, but they're not new items. It's items that had already been approved and budgeted for, but they didn't start the construction or didn't start the project, or they didn't use all the funds, and they're needing to rebudget those amounts in fiscal year 2024. And the majority of them are rebudgets. And then that's it. You have any questions?
Right. I'll bring it back to council. If we have any questions on what has been presented to us. We're just taking a deep breath here for a minute.
I know it's a
Mr.
lot of
Barba.
information, a
It's
lot of numbers.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. I know to you and to your department, I know it's great work. I know you've put in many, many hours to present this to us. We see it in a matter of 12 slides, but we know it takes a lot of work to get here to this
Thank
point.
you.
So, council members, I'll bring it back to us to have address any of your questions or comments that you may have on the budget.
I do have one simple question to staff and then comment just to my colleagues. And the question is for, I'm assuming the remainder of the ARPA funds, is it in the special funds that you presented?
Yes, that would be Fund 214. So it's a special revenue fund.
Okay. All right, perfect. And the last thing is that this is more to my colleagues, and that is that in the time that I've been fortunate and honored, privileged to be up here, I have seen a trend, right, within our general fund and how fragile, I think that's a appropriate word, how fragile it could be because of rising costs and the fact that we are very dependent on sales tax. At the very beginning before COVID, we were looking at a time frame of today to have been upside down. And the economy actually just, because of COVID, and a lot of us decided to, I don't know, order in and find new hobbies that required us to purchase things on Amazon. I mean, you can just, all of the above, the loss of revenue that we expected to see due to sales tax did not come through during that time frame, right? Which allows us to be above water right now. But costs still continue to go up, right? There's still inflation, we all see it. And so the two things that that I just wanted to actually ask Mr. Garcia as the chairman of our legislative committee is to see and I say this because I sit there with you on that one, if we can agendize that conversation of personnel cost and to the extent in which we can engage a conversation with the state about CalPERS and our allocations to that and what the state can do to help communities like ours in making sure that those costs are better shared or that we have better investment, as well as that capital replacement, right? We look at sales tax revenue as being the largest contributor to our general fund, and a lot of that we use to just kind of keep the wheel turning, right? And then we look at special funds, and sometimes we go for grants, and it's always a struggle to get those funds that allow us to advance or modernize. But should something break, that becomes an issue, right? It's almost like we freak out, right? And I'm looking at Abraham because, obviously capital improvements, right? If there's something that goes wrong, or if there's a need for a new water pump, right? These are not small ticket items. And I'm wondering if we begin to envision a new mechanism for replacement, especially capital replacement, because they're extremely expensive. And I'm not sure, I'm just brainstorming like an RDA equivalent, right? Where as your property values go up and we're beginning to pay more, that increment, rather than it going and being shared to like the county and the city, then it would go to the city for purposes of capital replacement, right? For connections, for sewage, for wastewater management, or we start looking at the NADBank or BEC, right? Which is the North American Development Bank, which is authorized by the federal government to give loans and grants to communities within a radius of the border, right, on both sides. So the Mexican government puts in money and the federal government puts in money. So like, for example, the expansion of the wastewater treatment facility in Hopeville came from the NADBank, right? And it's like a low to no interest loan in order to do those kinds of advancements. And so that way we're not stressing our budget, solely on just sales tax revenue and enterprise fund and all that kind of stuff, right? So I think, Madam Mayor, that, when it comes to the budget, it's about setting goals out of inspiration and knowing that we could achieve so much. We just have to make sure that we think outside the box and not just, it was done that way for so many years, and we're going to continue. I feel like there have been advancements in policy, like the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the Inflation Reduction Act. There are millions of dollars available to us right now if we could just capture it, right? It didn't exist 5 years ago, so as we're being trained, if it didn't exist while we're learning, then we don't look out for it. But there are fundings out there now that could help us in some of these things that I know that Abraham comes up and asks for $1 million here, $1 million there every once in a while, right? But they're needed, right? So I'll get off my soapbox now. I just wanted to make sure that that I shared that. And Mr. Garcia, I look forward to being able to engage in that conversation with you, to the extent that how do we express our needs for communities like ours in the bigger conversation, and weigh in on that.
And that's a responsibility we have to do, some of the heavy lifting, to
Right.
be able to expand our budget. All right, colleagues, any other questions or feedback? I just want to take it back to the slide where we had that opportunity to meet with the department heads, please. I just want to commend you. Thank you for allowing us to have that dialogue. Department heads, I hope that this gave you the opportunity for you to be able to voice the concerns that you have specifically for your department. And I think that that's important because you know your work on a day-to-day basis. And Carla, thank you for allowing those conversations to take place. And I appreciate the negotiation and the and the arm wrestling that has to happen in order to make sure that you meet the needs for your department. So I just thank you for being innovative and allowing those discussions to take place. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments, feedback? All right. Then at this time, I would I'd like to open this for a Motion to adopt resolution number 23-71 as the resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro, California, adopting the annual budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024. Thank you. The mover is Councilmember Edgar Garcia, seconded by Councilmember Sonia Carter. Please vote.
Madam Clerk, my screen, please.
I think we're having still
there
a
we go.
little, there we go. Thank you. That item passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. On to agenda item number 9, discussion and any necessary actions regarding the award of the extension of Imperial Avenue from Interstate 8 to Wake Avenue and Wake Avenue east of Imperial Avenue Phase 1. Mr. Abraham Campos.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members and incoming new city manager. I just wanted to, before I even get started in saying some joke on how I'm the first item after the budget adoption to take millions away. So thank you, Carla and Finance, for the work. It was, I know how hard and the many hours that were put in, so just thank you from my department. Also on the capital project, there was a lot of special projects there. A lot of them are grant funded, and that's the work in here with Adriana and the Community Services Department. And even on this project, a lot of the funding coming up is grant funded. So we're always looking for those ways to help the budget in whatever way we can. Now, the item here before us is like a deja vu on a project that we have, right? It's Imperial Avenue extension is a great project. And actually, I do have a PowerPoint. I got distracted. All right, I apologize for that. So this first project is the award of Phase 1 for Imperial Avenue Extension. If you recall, Imperial Avenue Extension Phase 1 is the area in red in your screen, includes Imperial Avenue between Interstate 8 and Wake Avenue, as well as Wake Avenue to connect it east and westerly so you can travel all the way from La Bergerie out to Home Depot, basically. On May 25th, we did open bids the second time, as this was a project that was rebid. And we got bids that were very, very, very close. The number 1 and number 2 on a $5.5 million project, basically, were off by $500. With that, Pyramid remained this time as the low bidder. We did get a bid protest from Rove on June 1st on 2023. We did very carefully review it with the help of our city attorney, and we were able to respond to that protest after a very careful review of what was documented there. We still find that Pyramid is the low bidder. We have advised Rove. A letter has been submitted to Rove, and Rove has been notified. I did speak to a member of Rove today. They're aware of the meeting. I'm not sure if they're here. They didn't have expressed an intention to appear. With that, we are still moving forward and recommend that on Pyramid be awarded the construction contract. Now, going back to the funding, a lot of it is federal funded, as well as developer impact fees that were sitting in our coffers for some years for this purpose, and finally we can spend them. Federal funding and grant is $1.5 million or so. And change Farmers Estate subdivision, which is in that area, had contributed back then from funding and with interest. Right now it's $326,000. They go towards the project. Same with Desert Village subdivision. And we're also leveraging SB1, which is a gas tax funding to this project for a total recommended award of $2,375,721.93 for that as a total budget for this project. For Phase 2, which is the second item, I'll be going over items 9 and 10 in one PowerPoint. For the second item, again, federal funding, almost $3 million at $2.932 million. As well as Desert Village developer impact fees of $629,116 for a total budget of $3,670,212.17. We are proposing this to to be awarded tonight. It just so shoes, with construction beginning in late July, and construction expected to be completed in summer of 2024 for these two phases. And what you see in front of you is a recreation of what this could look like in the future of El Centro, south of Imperial Avenue. With that, it'd be two separate motions for the separate items. So item 9, it would be the first resolution, and item 10, the second resolution.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Campos. Any questions, colleagues? Yes,
My-
Councilmember Oliva?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is just more projecting outward. I see that phase 1 and 2 with the timeline that you just presented. What does phase 3 and 4 look like in terms of, just so my mind, the ultimate completion of the project and when more or less that would look like?
Great question. So phase 3, we did apply for funding as well, and we did get it. So phase 3 takes us between Dannenberg and Manuel Ortiz, and connects basically that subdivision of Buena Vista. In Buena Vista, Imperial Avenue is already extended. So phase 3 includes that Buena Vista half street that's Imperial Avenue is already there. So that's right at the tail end of this one. We started with the other one, if not almost overlapping. So we're moving right ahead. On phase 4, we're still looking for funding. We're waiting. We have submitted to Congressman Reese's office for funding requests, and we're still working on funding on those. And that one would, as soon as funding is allowed, we'll start with a little bit of right-of-way in trees that we have in that area, and move forward. But phase 3 is starting, if this is completed in 2024, shortly thereafter, maybe by 2025, we should be done with phase 3 as well.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, colleagues, any other questions? All right, so we will take each item separately. We will take item number 9, which is to adopt Resolution 23-72, resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro awarding the bid and authorizing the execution of a contract for the extension of Imperial Avenue from Interstate 8 to Wake Avenue and Wake Avenue east of Imperial Avenue, Phase 1. All right. Mover is Councilmember Edgar Garcia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Marroquin. Please vote. Thank you. That item passes 5-0. Now taking a look at item number 10, I'm looking for adopting resolution number 23-73, resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro awarding the bid and authorizing the execution of a contract for the extension of Imperial Avenue from Wake Avenue to Dannenberg Drive, Phase 2. Right, the mover is Councilmember Edgar Garcia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Marroquin. Please vote. Thank you. That item passes 5-0. All right. Moving us on to item number 11, the award of the construction management services for the police station project. Mr. Abraham.
All right, so we spent 5, let's go for 40 more. So
The $1 million man.
Yeah, and
All
that, now
right.
it's the multi-million-dollar.
I'm just helping the police here. So the next project is a beloved project here for the city. It's the next gem for the city that I truly believe is going to be upon us pretty soon. As first agenda item here, number 11, is for the award of construction management services. So let's start with some pretty pictures. This is what we're envisioning for the police station coming up. Would be a view along Main Street and 11th, basically looking towards the northwest. For construction management services, we do go through a qualification-based selection. In this case, we did release it out. We reviewed them. We did only get 2 proposals for CM, which surprised us, but very, very qualified proposals. So we did open the proposals. We interviewed the proposed firms, and we're recommending the firm as number 1 is Balfour Beatty Construction and Schneider. They were extremely close. Either one could have done this project. With that, going back on the schedule, we should be awarding the bids to the CM services tonight, hopefully. Next item is approving the plans and specs. We intend on releasing the plans and specs out to bid in late July. and with the award of the construction contract in September, with breaking ground in October, if everything goes well. With questions? With that, I'm looking for your recommendation to award the construction management services to Buffer Betty.
All right. Colleagues, questions, concerns, feedback from Mr. Campos? It's an exciting time for the city of El Centro. All
Very.
right.
I don't have concerns or whatnot. You mentioned that the two firms were very, very close, right? And I just thought if you'd like to just summarize why Bellflower was selected, just for the good of the
No,
discussion.
definitely. Both firms demonstrated extremely strong management. I believe we felt slightly more comfortable with the local personnel to be provided in this, to be on site. When you have construction management, you have the firm, which is the head of, right? And that may be sitting in San Diego, or LA, Riverside, Irvine, wherever it is. But it's the hand who's here locally, actually talking to the contractor, talking to staff, coordinated in the field. And in this case, we felt slightly more comfortable with Buffer Betty, and that's why we selected.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. At this time, then, we're looking to adopt Resolution 23-74, the resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro approving professional services agreement with Balfour Betty Construction for the construction management services relating to the El Centro Police Station project. And the mover is Councilmember Edgar Garcia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Sylvia Marroquin. Please vote. Thank you. Item passes 5-0. You are busy today, Mr. Campos.
All right, next one, next 30, some 40, I don't know, I lost count. So now that we have a construction manager, we got to give him something to build. So what we're having here is the approval of the plans and specifications for the City of Central Police Department. So just a little bit of going back, on April 6th of 2021, we approved the contract with Arlington Watkins for design services. That's done. We are ready to go out to bid. The design is complete. The building permit is pretty much issued. So we are requesting to go out to public bidding. Just to give you an idea of upcoming attractions, the new police station project includes all of this: a public lobby, community meeting space, multipurpose space, admin office, briefing room, lockers, fitness area, training rooms, and the list goes on. It's a really nice facility that I know the chief and their staff have put a lot of effort in creating these spaces and functioning for them as best they can, because on the fund, based on the funding, I know they wish for a $50 million or $60 million facility, but that's all we can get. One more floor? So yes, some renderings on how this would look on different angles. From the public are the top two. They're both out of Main Street. One is out of the one on top left is on Main Street. Basically, if you're sitting on 12th, looking towards it, the top right is if you're sitting on 11th, looking into it. And on the bottom is the parking lot that's inside. So all that parking is basically it's actually where the existing buildings are located right now. Just without giving too much, there's a couple floor plans, so there's very, very, very well planned out. I'm not gonna show you every plan, but just to give you an idea of the different spaces within the facility and the complexity. I kept this slide because it shows how the building to the right, which is the main building, has all the sticks going down. That's all that's going to go underground on this facility. So it's got a lot of piles. It's got a deep foundation because it's got to last through an earthquake and continue functioning. And you see that on the building that will be on Main Street, which is the main building. Very expensive building on the foundation side. So what we have done is we've started the pre-qualification. That's ongoing. We had a pre-qualification meeting for contractors already. This is just to establish a pool of contractors. qualified contractors. We look at everything from financial strength, litigation history, past experience, and so forth to make sure that only qualified contractors bid. We've done this for all of our major capital improvement projects, from our bus terminal to skate park, aquatic center, library, and we had great success going through this process. Tonight we'll be approving plans and specs. On July 18, we have the RFQ package due. On July 25th, we intend on releasing the plans and specs to bid and awarding, as I mentioned in the prior item, on September, with starting construction in October and being done sometime in the spring, summer 2025. I should have just left 2025 for construction complete. So the next few months are very on the clock to keep everything going and getting construction. But we're really excited to get this project going. So with that, I'm requesting your consideration to approve the plans and specifications for the City of El Centro Police Station project and authorize staff to release for public bidding to pre-qualified bidders.
I just have a quick question. Since we are going to be building on the existing site, what will be the plan in order to still keep operations and have construction at the same site?
Complicated. So it's that's why we approve all for Betty first,
Yes.
right? But actually not because of that, but it's going to be very delicate dance to have. There is it's a phase construction. So what that means is that we will be demolishing a little bit of piece where the conference room at the police station is at to make room to start constructing the buildings. And then staff will move from the old buildings to the new ones. Then those will be demoed, and then the parking lot will be constructed. So obviously there'll be incredible impacts to staff and operation, but we will be working through those very, very closely with our CM and our police chief and staff to maintain functioning dispatch center and utilities. Those utilities that are in conflict with the new buildings will be rerouted first so that to ensure continuation of service.
And the only reason I asked that, I know that it was very important for our residents that we build the new police station in its current site, and also providing reassurance that the services will continue, and asking our staff to be very nimble as you know, construction is going on at the same site, and we just appreciate the flexibility. So that's just what I wanted to add. Anything else,
Anything you'd like to
colleagues,
say,
at this
Chief?
point? State of the art already, I mean, as far as work is concerned, it already takes place. It's already being done at the City of El Centro. Now, the building will match the work that takes place there, so that's what we're excited about. All right, so at this time, I'm asking for a motion. Motion has been made by our Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Edgar Garcia. Please vote. Thank you. That item passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Right.
Madam Mayor, may I just ask Abraham one quick question? Should the state of California require future police vehicles to be all electric? Will this new facility have built-in charging stations for police vehicles?
That's a great one, actually, right? So it does have.
There was like, I don't know if you caught it, Chief, there was like a nice little spread of sarcasm in that comment. Just enough, but there's a part of me that just wonders if they'll ever require our police vehicles to be electric, and are we ready for that?
I'm sure the chief would love that. But in all seriousness, the parking lot itself is designed so that in future accept the solar J structures to add electrical conduits. So there's conduits already in place, but I will definitely bring that up to our consultant, as I'm not aware that there's electric charging stations planned for the whole fleet. So I'll bring it up because it's a really good point.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving us on to task force reports. Colleagues, we were here less than 7 days ago, so I don't know if anyone has any reports that they would like to update us on.
Not at this time, I don't.
The only thing that I would say is that, you know, we do have a hospital board meeting tomorrow, which I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for that. But also, nice one, Betsy. But also that Mr. Garcia and I originally had planned to attend the Senate committee hearing for AB 918 Wednesday. It was supposed to be Wednesday, but it got moved to July 12th. So we look forward to seeing how we participate on that one. But that hearing did get moved, and just wanted to report that back.
Great, thank you. Any other reports?
No, just that we have our task force to end homelessness meeting tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. And I think that's it.
All right. Anything? No, all right. So I will share with you, I know that Councilmember Edgar Garcia and I, we love watching some baseball here in the city of El Centro, and so Saturday had the opportunity to catch a game. It was the El Centro Junior All-Star Champion game against Brawley, and so they played them on Saturday and Sunday, and on Sunday they were victorious, and so our El Centro Little League All-Stars are the champions, and we'll be moving on, so that was great. That was exciting to see. And then a shout out to our El Centro Library Director. Thank you, Carla. Great job today. We had the opportunity to, we had a full packed house. We had our Wild Wonders group who came in, and we had, I think, 5 beautiful little furry creatures and a lovely snake. And it was just packed, and so we got to learn about these beautiful animals, and just, it was just a great event. I want to say we had a large amount of children and family members who attended, so great job. I'd love to see our library at that capacity, where we see a place of learning and opportunity, and great feedback from family members who really appreciated the event. So it was great. Thank you so much for that. All right, I'll hand it over to our interim city manager / almost city manager officially.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hardly ever at a loss for words, but earlier I kind of missed some people, very important, and I want to reiterate those. But before, I want to follow up on Buckling Park safety and security. There's been some mounting concerns out there. I just want to share with the public that beginning July 1, we'll have an additional security guard who will be an armed security guard patrolling the park. And also, we reached out, Adriana did me the huge favor to reaching out to our IT to see if we could support additional cameras. So we're taking a look at that to see if there's anything that we can do to reinforce the ability to capture security footage and feed it into the police department if possible. Additionally, as you mentioned, today, it's a short week, right? It's from last week to this week, but Wild Wonders, I was lucky enough to get there after the snake came out. I've been a fireman for almost 30 years, and absolutely, we don't mix. I don't like snakes. They don't like me either. But they did have a pretty cool hedgehog, and for those people that play video games, well, the hedgehog, that's a fun game. I wanted to thank one more time our department heads, and the city clerk's office, obviously, for their hard work and dedication. I tell you, the city clerk's office puts up with a lot because seems to be always running behind, and I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I already got past that. But they're always very helpful. Same thing with our community services. You guys are always putting on great activities, and our community development department also has done a great job through the past 7 or so months. Public Works, what can I say, right? You just took the cake today. You're building the Imperial Avenue extension as well as our police department. Some great happenings in the community. Our city library, thank you, Carla, for bringing on this the Wild Wonders to Imperial County. I think it's the first time, right, that they come, and nobody else had that. So it was really well attended. The children had a lot of fun. Some of them were, brought to tears also because, they were so close to those little critters. I was crying because I was not far enough from that snake, though. To our police department, you guys put on some great work, and, thank you for all that. The finance department, you guys knocked it out of the park. Too bad, your fellow finance department members left a little bit ahead of time, but please thank them for me on my behalf. The city manager's office, there's only a couple of people there that we actually do some work. Betsy, thank you. You've been an incredible help along the way this far. And Cindy, without Cindy, I don't know where my head would be. And then last but certainly not least, the fire department. That's my home department. It is certainly difficult to leave you guys, but at the same time, I'm proud that I'm actually coming out of the fire department and that I'll be representing. And my battle buddy Brad, we won't see each other in the morning on pass on and things like that, but I think you're used to it now. Anywho, one of a small group of people. What's that? Oh, human resources. Obviously, we haven't gotten to my resolution yet. But most certainly.
They might forget it, Cedric.
It's kind of messed up that I forgot because probably one of the partners I spent most of the time, talking to, right, or getting weighed in because of the challenge. Anywho, thank you, Nulce, for all of the great work you guys have done also. And last but not least, my family. Debbie, you're here today. Alexa, I hope she's watching on social media or on Zoom. Bella and Abby, the baby. They're here today. I'll tell you one thing, that countless nights away from home, I think I figured out that I probably spent about 10 years of my marriage away from home. When you count every day that either we were on duty or on a strike team or something like that. And, that also means that I've been away from my children for that long. So you guys have always been there, and you guys have been great supporters along the way. And, today is something that we celebrate as a family. And, I appreciate you guys for never complaining about the work that I did at the fire department, and that I was gone weeks at a time fighting fires in other communities that are not even our own. But nobody ever complained about that. So thank you guys. I'm sort of back home now. Thank you.
Great. With that, wow.
I know.
All right, with that, everyone, I'm going to